Afterward, we're going to host a live question and answer section. Anyone, if you do have any questions, please try to save them to the end because you never know, I might actually cover them while we're doing the live session. So let's get started. So basically what you need to know now that you're an Uber driver partner is that the way you file your taxes has changed. Now, in addition to filing your regular run-of-the-mill expenses, deductions, income, you're also going to add an extra form. This form usually is about, I'd say, 5 pages long. Thankfully, with TurboTax's home and business version, it's very, very simple. You're just going to answer some questions about your life, and you'll be guided through from start to finish. The form is called the T2125. This form covers everything that has to do with your Uber partner driving. It has all your income, your expenses, vehicle expenses, everything, all contained in this one section of your tax return. So just to be clear, you're still only filing your one main tax return, but it's going to cover a little bit more information. So Uber and TurboTax have partnered together to make sure that you drivers out there, your driver partners, are able to complete your taxes correctly and with a little bit of extra guidance as needed, which is part of the reason we're doing this webinar today. So TurboTax software, for those of you who haven't heard of TurboTax, it's Canada's #1 software, and it helps you prepare and file your income tax return. Because everyone's tax situation is unique, we do have a number of different versions, and they vary depending on what your needs are. So TurboTax Free is for very simple returns or for people that have an extreme in-depth amount of tax knowledge like me. If you have a complex return and this is your first year filing as an Uber partner driver, TurboTax Free is not exactly your best choice. But we do have other versions. We have TurboTax Standard, which is great for students, individuals, and families, and TurboTax Premier, also excellent for investors and property owners. But for you Uber driver partners out there, your best choice is our home and business version. It covers everything. It's got your freelancer, self-employed, small business, step-by-step guidance, start to finish. And we've partnered with Uber to make sure your taxes get done right, and part of that includes actually saving you a bit of money. Special offer applies only for Uber drivers, and that is you're going to save 20% off the regular price. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But all of our TurboTax products are backed by all of our TurboTax guarantees. You'll get the maximum refund, we assure 100% accuracy, and if you aren't satisfied, you have a 60-day money-back guarantee. TurboTax Home and Business, as I said, step-by-step guidance for your self-employment income and expenses. Everything from vehicle expenses, services, service fees, supplies, we've got it all. If you can make your way through Toronto traffic during rush hour, you'll have no problem doing your own taxes with TurboTax. So one of the things that you'll have to think about before you're actually ready to start your taxes is make sure that you have everything you need. There is the option to start and stop and then sign in later using TurboTax, but it's a good idea to gather all of your information in the beginning. So some of the things that you're going to need are your annual tax summary from Uber, receipts, bills, statements from all of your tax deductible expenses. We'll cover those a little more in depth later. Your vehicle mileage for the entire year of 2016 if you drove all year. We'll talk about that a little later too. Your social insurance number, of course, and any other tax documents or slips if applicable. So if you have other things that you want to declare other than your Uber driver partner venture, if you have dependents that have swimming lessons, if you had a a second job, anything like that. If you're a student, anything that you would normally gather to prepare your return, you'll need that, plus the things that you need for your Uber driver partner endeavor. When it comes to declaring expenses, it's especially important to make sure that you have everything. As a self-employed taxpayer, the more expenses that you have, the less income tax you're going to have payable. Of course, everything has to apply to the business. You can't borrow receipts from other people or other things. They must always relate to the business. So you're self-employed as an Uber driver partner, you're going to have a number of expenses. You're going to have gas, oil, any type of fluid that you've used to maintain your vehicle. If you've done repairs to your vehicle, if you've bought snow tires, winter tires, absolutely, that's a deduction. If you've leased your vehicle, those payments are also tax deductible. If you have a loan on your vehicle, the interest from your loan is also tax deductible. If you've had a car wash, if you had detailing, anything that relates to driving as an Uber driver partner is potentially a deduction. Even something as small as pens and paper, or if you're one of those people that goes the extra mile for your fares, for your passengers, water, snacks, gum, anything like that, also a potential deduction. And, of course, because we're in the electronic age, if you use a cell phone, which I'm sure you do as an Uber driver partner, a portion of that cell phone expense may also be a deduction. We also have a few handouts that are available for our Uber driver partners. We can discuss those a little later, but there's tax prep tips, and you'll see that also on our site that I'm going to show you shortly that's been set up just for Uber driver partners. There's also a wealth of information there available. So now we're ready to actually start. Go in and have a look at what it's like to file your tax return as an Uber driver partner. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the special microsite we've built just for the Uber driver partners. There we go, there's that handsome fella. So as an Uber driver partner, as I mentioned earlier, you are entitled to save 20% on your return. There's one small key that you have to remember. If you start in at turbotax.ca/Uber and you go in, you begin your return, it's great, you're halfway done, you decide, okay, well, I'm going to go do something else, I'm going to do some work, I'm going to come back to this. It's important that you sign in again using that same link. So turbotax.ca/Uber. Uber means discount. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start for free. Now, of course, for time, I've started an account myself, but if you're new to TurboTax, creating your account is very easy. Just an email address, pick a user ID that you're going to remember. Phone number is a great idea, just in case you forget your password. You can get a new code texted to you. Be sure to do a password you're going to remember and a security question. After you've created your account and you come back in, you just click on sign in. As you can see, there's my credential right there. I just have to put my password in. There we go. Easy peasy. All right, so we can see that this is I called my return manager. What I've done is I've filled in a bit of information on a return, and of course this is Sally, and her last name just happens to be Driver. So we're going to log in here and have a look. So Sally's an Uber driver partner in our scenario, and she's driving, this is her only income last year was driving for Uber. If Sally also had a second job, she would just go ahead and indicate that as well, but we're going to cover mainly the Uber driver partner experience. So when you first sign in, you'll be asked to provide a number of different details about yourself. Everything's pretty straightforward though. So we have things like just your name, your date of birth, marital status. We also have residency, of course, for different provincial credits, your mailing address, if you have children or other dependents, if you have parents, for example, that you care for that live with you, you will enter the information about them. And you'll also enter different information, for example, about your, if you speak French, if you'd like to have that as your language of correspondence with CRA. Very basic questions. The next part, and this is an interesting thing about the software. One of my favorite things about the software. The software simply asks you questions about your life. It's not complex. You don't have to sit down with a whole lot of forms with the pencil and paper in hand. Everything is done by the software based on things that you have let the software know. For example, I'm going to pick income and work expenses. So I completed this earlier just for the sake of time. So when I came into the income and work related expenses, I just check off things that apply to me. So Sally, did you work? Technically, for this purpose, Sally's going to pick no, because work in this purpose means were you employed or received unemployment. What Sally's clicking off actually is the next question. Did you have self-employment income or expenses? As an Uber driver partner, you're going to select yes. And the reason you're selecting these questions properly is so that the software, as you go, is generating forms for you to fill out. You don't have to look at the forms. You don't have to worry about the forms. They're all moved into a question form. So when I click off for Sally as an Uber driver partner, that she had self-employment income and expenses, that means that that form is now going to pop up automatically as I go through this return. I also am going to click off that I have business expenses. Remember what I said earlier, the more expenses you have, the lower your tax payable. That's why it's so important to make sure you have good record keeping. Other than that, just her province where her business was located. So this sometimes confuses people. The word business means everything from owning a store to having a daycare in your home. It could be a freelance writer. There are a number of different things that fall under business when it comes to taxes. As an Uber driver partner, you can now say that you're a businessman because you are self-employed. So for the sake of taxes, you are the business. So we just click off that Sally lived in Ontario and we save. There we go. So there are a number of other different things that you may want to click off. If you had RSPs, absolutely. Let the software know. The software is here to help. If you're a student, click off that you're a student. Then your tuition forms will automatically appear for you. Same as if you bought a new home or moved or had some losses from previous years. Anything that's tax related, answer the questions to the best of your ability. If you're not sure, click yes. Then when the screen pops up, you'll know whether or not it applies to you. For example, I'll give you an example. Other credits and deductions. Other credits and deductions can mean a number of different things. Did you have a donation to a charity or political party? Sure, maybe I did. Maybe I made some political or charitable donations. I'm going to click yes. By me clicking yes, that form will now pop up in the software as we go. But don't worry, if you happen to miss a question, you can always go back and fill it in later. So that's it. I've told TurboTax now who I am. I've told TurboTax a little bit about me. The software is thinking, it's generating the forms that I need. TurboTax now knows that Sally is a business person and she has income. So let's get going. If you are a CRA My Account holder, you can use the feature called Autofill My Return. You can learn more about that on our website, turbotax.ca. Anything that you happen to have in your CRA My Account will be automatically generated and imported into your return. There we go. So we're going to move on and see what the screens bring us. So here we go. Business expert interview. Here we're going to start your step-by-step. Now, as you can see, I've already entered some information for Sally just for the sake of time. And over here, Sally has a balance due right now of $3,049.28. Let's have a look. So this is telling me all of the different things that I can look at that if I want to review. So we're just going to have it start at the beginning and go through screen by screen to get everyone caught up. So here, remember I spoke before about the T2125. This is how the form appears in TurboTax. Now, one of the most common questions that I've been asked as a tax prep specialist is business name. What's my business name? I'm an Uber driver partner. Do I put Uber in here? Actually, no. Because you are self-employed and you own your own business, you are the business. Put your own name in there. Main product or service? Pretty self-explanatory. You're a driver. You're a self-employed Uber driver partner navigating away around the city like a star, but that won't fit in there. If you are registered for a GST or HST and you have an account number, that will also be required on this page. Business address. Very, very similar to business name. You are the business. Where do you live? It's exactly that easy. It's your home address. Of course, I made this address up, but if you're filing your taxes as self-employed and you do not have an official business name, use your own. If you don't have an official business address, use your own. Industry code. Industry codes are used by the Canada Revenue Agency just for stats only. It is important, however, to make sure that you do have the right industry code as an Uber driver partner. 485990. That's your code. That's the code for all of you. No one has an individual code, so all Uber driver partners will use the same 6-digit code. A year-end adjustment. There's going to be a number of different screens that we skip right by because they don't apply. This is the first one. Were you required to adjust your income? No. Other information about your business? Skip that too. You don't have any partners. Well, you have lots, but not in the self-employed business venture. So this is the first place that you're going to actually start entering some numbers. Now for this particular amount, this is all of your income. So sales, commissions, or fees. This block right here covers all of your income. So I have a copy of a tax summary here. In that spot, you will take the total here under booking fee, where it says total, and the total to the right of that, where it says referral and incentives. Both of those amounts added together are your sales, commissions, and fees income. I'll say that just one more time so everyone understands. The total from both of these columns added together goes in the blank here. Don't worry about the fees. Those are going to come off later as a deduction. So for this particular person, Sally made, I don't know how she managed it, but she made exactly $20,000 last year. If you're a GST HST registrant, there's some extra blanks that you have to fill in on here, including if you've added your GST into this amount, you have to deduct it. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, actually. That's the only entry that you need is on this page for income. So you can skip income, the rest of it, or you can continue. Let's continue, just for the curious people out there. So this is where we go to the skipping part. Lots of skipping today. You have no reserves. There's no other income. I don't think anyone's reporting any source income from Lloyd's of London as an Uber driver. So we can continue. Look at that. Inventory. None of that either. We can skip inventory. Now we get to the good stuff. So I'd like everyone just to take note of this number. 30, 49, 28. Because it's in red, we know it's a balance due. We're going to keep an eye on that number as we go. So some of the most expensive expenses that you have, the most costly expenses that you have, are going to be related to your vehicle, of course. So you're going to answer yes to this question. Everybody that's an Uber driver partner should be answering yes to this question. Make sure that you make the right selection here. There's two different ways to go. Vehicles used by all partners jointly. That's if you happen to own a business with someone else, your spouse, or if you have partners. Your vehicle is being used for business purposes, likely only by you. If your spouse drives the car when you're not driving as an Uber driver partner, that's fine. You're still going to make the same selection. And we're going to add a vehicle for Sally. There we go. Calculation of motor vehicle expenses. The first one is quite straightforward. Description of your vehicle. So in this case, we're going to say that Sally had a 2014 Toyota Camry, just because I like that car. The next two blanks are very important, and they're actually underestimated in their importance. I've talked to a number of different customers over the year who have made this one mistake, and that is they don't put in the two amounts that are here. So we have total kilometers driven in the taxation year, and then total kilometers driven in the taxation year to earn income. Total kilometers driven in the taxation year, which is your first blank, is the number of kilometers that you put on your vehicle in total for 2016, assuming you started as an Uber driver partner on January 1st or before. So let's say on my Toyota Camry, I looked at the odometer reading January 1st, and it was, let's say, I don't know, 50,000 kilometers. Then I looked at it on December 31st, and it was 80,000 kilometers. Well, then I know that I've put 30,000 kilometers on last year. Pretty straightforward. Kilometers driven in the taxation year to earn income. Well, luckily, we have that one at our disposal. On-trip mileage provided right here on your annual tax summary. I'm going to say, just for the sake of argument, because I like good round numbers, that I used my vehicle half of the time as an Uber driver partner. I put on so many kilometers last year. Now I'm going to explain why this is so important. There is no per kilometer rate for vehicle expenses. So you don't get to claim 50 cents a kilometer, for example. Everything is done based on a percentage. That means that in this scenario, 50% of my expenses for my vehicle are going to be attributed to my business. That means that I need the receipts for everything for the whole year in relation to my vehicle. If these two numbers are not put in, the vehicle expenses do not get claimed. That's how important these are. So I'll just review it one more time. Total kilometers driven in the taxation year. Everything you've put on your car in 2016, or from if you begin, for example, in March of 2016, everything from March until December. If you did happen to just start driving in 2016, then you can look at your safety standard certificate. It should have your kilometer, your odometer reading on it from when you started. If you started prior to 2016, you need your actual amount of kilometers driven on that car during that time. Then all you need to do is look at your annual tax statement and put in your on-trip mileage. This will give an accurate view to the Canada Revenue Agency of how much of your driving is related to business. So again, we're going to keep an eye on this over here. Sally's balance due is going to go down. So fuel and oil. Again, this is not when you stopped just before or just after dropping off a passenger, a fare. This is for the entire year. So if you got gas in Montreal when you went there for a trip with your family last November, and you were an Uber driver partner at the time, that you need that receipt. So all of the expenses are for the entire year, not just when you were as an Uber driver partner on the job. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that Sally spent, I have no idea what the cost of gas is anymore. Isn't that terrible? We're going to say that she spent, $3,000 on gas. Okay? Now, insurance. This is your regular vehicle insurance. Whatever you're paying monthly, or if you pay by year, enter the total in here. I know it's a lot more in Ontario than where I happen to be located, so we're going to put in a big figure in here. Let's put in, I don't know, let's put in another $3,000. License and registration fees. If you had your license renewed, if you had to get new tags, if you bought a new vehicle, any of those fees associated that you had to pay to the Department of Transportation, if those go in there, let's put in $300. Maintenance and repairs. We all have maintenance and repairs, especially in the winter time here in Canada, if you've ever hit a pothole. So new tires, any type of repair, oil changes, fluid top-ups. Did you get your air conditioning fixed on your vehicle last year? That's an expense. Put that in there. Come up with whatever the total is. This is what's going to go in here. So this 2014 Camry, thankfully, was still under warranty. So we didn't have a whole lot for expenses, but we'll say that we had about, counting the tires and everything else, let's say we had about $2,000. Now the next one is really important. Business parking fees. You shouldn't really have any actual parking fees as an Uber driver partner, unless maybe you're sitting outside the office waiting to go in. But this is where you're actually going to put the tolls that you've paid for the entire year. So if we go back to our breakdown here, you have a blank. If you've had tolls, we're going to put them in as an expense. So let me just back up a little bit. Because you are reimbursed for these, they're added to your income. To make everything balance out, you have to take that same number that's tolls and put it in as an expense. That gives the most accurate picture now of your tax situation. So it's been included in your income. It's going to come off as an expense. So let's say I didn't go through many tolls, so let's just say I had $200. If you purchased additional insurance for your vehicle, specifically because you were an Uber driver partner, that can also go in here as well. We're going to say Sally didn't. Sally had good insurance, so we're just going to keep her in the regular insurance one. Other expenses, not a whole lot. You can break things out if you like about for example, detailing, if you had detailing done, if one of your fares was sick, things like that, those could go in there. One thing to avoid, and lots of people make this mistake, if you got a speeding ticket last year, it's not tax deductible. Not a good idea to put speeding tickets or any other type of ticket in there. It's not tax deductible whatsoever. So this is where we've captured so far all of your run-of-the-mill expenses, we'll call them. Now let's have a look down below. So this is where I was talking about earlier about interest. If you have a car loan, the interest that you're paying actually can be a tax deduction. You can find out that information from your loan provider. They can figure out how much it was in 2016, and you can enter that figure in there. A little bit extra information you have to put in, when your lease started. If it started before 2016, you just put January 1st. Same for when your lease ends. If it ends past December 31st, you just put in December 31st. So we'll say that Sally actually did have a car loan, but she got a really good deal on interest, so she only paid $120 in interest last year. If you're someone who leases your vehicle, your lease payment, not just interest or things like that, your lease payment is actually a deduction as well. So you can enter in your lease charges for your vehicle here and your manufacturer's list price. Now we're going to come down to capital cost allowance, which sounds really complicated. It's actually not. It's just depreciation. Because you're using your vehicle for business purposes, you're allowed to depreciate it every year. If you just started as an Uber driver partner in 2016, this might be something a little bit new to you. Oh, there we go. So the first thing you have to determine is which class your vehicle is in. And class numbers are just ways that CRA determines how much you're going to be able to depreciate. If your vehicle, after taxes, costs less than $30,000, you're a class 10. Here we go. If your vehicle costs more than $30,000, you're a 10.1. Each one has a little bit of a different set of circumstances with it, but that's all you need to know. Just have to remember 30. Below 30 is a 10, above 30 is a 10.1. If you were an Uber driver partner in 2015, so not 2016, if you're one of the ones that started earlier than that, on your tax return last year, you would have had this number. It's called a UCC. So that's how much you have left to depreciate. If you don't have that number, that's okay. Leave it blank. If you haven't claimed anything on this vehicle before, so let's say Sally started last year. Let's say she started January 1st. That was her New Year's resolution, was to become an Uber driver partner. She would not have this number because she would not have claimed any depreciation on her vehicle before that. So in that case, Sally's going to go in here. She's going to put in her date, January 1st, 2016. Now, Sally owned this car before January 1st, 2016, but that's when she started using it for business. So now she has to figure out how much was that car worth on January 1st, 2016. Not hard to do. Kelley Blue Book. Look it up online. Canada Black Book, I think it's actually called here. It'll tell you exactly what that car was going for a year ago. So Sally beat up her car a little bit, but we'll say that it was in fair condition. So let's enter, I don't know, let's say $21,000. So that makes her a class 10. Remember, under 30. She's still got her vehicle, so we don't need to say that she sold it. That's all she needs. Now next year, Sally will dig out this income tax. She'll have a look. She'll import it into her next year's return, And this number will appear for her magically. So let's just go scroll up here for a minute. So we have, remember this number, 3049.28. I'm going to click Done with Auto. Look at that. See the difference? Expenses. That's what expenses can do. And all of those are legitimate expenses. Now, mind you, I may have gone a little overboard on the gas, but as I have great respect for Uber driver partners who keep track of their gas receipts and their records. So right now we've dropped Sally's balance owing significantly by accurately recording her expenses. And we're not even done yet. So we're going to click Done with Vehicles. And we're going to go to Claiming Business Expenses. So the majority of the things that you're going to claim are related to your vehicle. But there are some other things that we haven't even claimed yet. So let's start. Get ready to skip. We're going to skip a lot. Advertising. No. Meals and entertainment. You're probably not eating while you have a fare in the vehicle, so no. You're not paying anyone else to drive for you, I hope. No. Business travel. Sounds good. Doesn't apply. Doubtful accounts. No doubt here. Skip. Licenses, business taxes, or dues. No. Shipping expenses. No. This is the part that you might get a little confused and you think, didn't I already enter these amounts? No, these are business expenses that are not related to your vehicle. So everything but your vehicle. Fuel costs, for example, here, no, you've already entered yours in. It says right there, do not include the cost of fuel, oil, or lubricants used in your motor vehicle. Totally different section. Same as insurance. This would be for someone that, for example, rents a storefront and has to pay additional insurance. Not you. And we're taking a small pause, I see. There we go. So interest, again, we've covered this in the vehicle section. It says right there, do not include interest paid on a vehicle loan, same as repair and maintenance, already covered in the vehicle section. We do, however, we may have some people that are Uber driver partners that have office expenses. So not a whole lot probably, but everything helps. So if you purchased a notebook to keep track of your stops, if you've purchased pens, paper, anything like that, you can put it in there. Even something as small as $10 will help. Make sure, of course, it's a legitimate expense. Don't just throw $10 in there. You have to make sure you have a receipt for it. Other expenses. So other expenses, this is for those of you who are Uber driver partners that go that extra mile. The ones that have the selection of gum and water and snacks and those things. If you paid for any of those, for your fares, this is where you can use it as an expense. So Sally's one of those excellent driver partners. She has, made sure that she's stocked some water and light snacks and gum and things like that for her fares. So she spent, about $125 last year. So she's going to make sure that she records that. See, it's still coming down. Banking charges and other fees. Well, this Might surprise you. It's not actually banking charges for you. If you have banking charges that are related to your Uber driver income, I'm not exactly sure what they would be, but if you do, then you would enter them here. The one thing you want to make sure you are entering here relates back to your tax statement. Split fare plus Uber service fee plus booking fee. So all three of those, split fare, booking fee, Uber service fee. Add all three of those together. They go in here. It's under management administration fees. So in the beginning, all of those fees are actually included in your income. This is where they come back off. So everything equals out. Everything's balanced. So let's say Sally had, I'm just going to pick a small number here, $2,000. Next year, you can actually claim the cost of TurboTax in here as well. So for your tax returns, you could actually put that amount in here on the next one, which is professional advice and service. So now we're going to have another look, 405.52. Oh my goodness, what happened? Yeah, that's right. I know. You made $20,000 on an Uber driver partner last year, and you're getting a refund? Can't be true. Actually, it is. And we're not even done yet. Next one, telephone and utilities. This is where you're going to enter your cell phone bill, not your whole cell phone bill. This is a big mistake that people make. They just add up everything they paid in their cell phone last year, put it in there. Actually, that's not what you're supposed to do. You have to figure out how much of the time you're using your cell phone for business and for personal. Not the easiest calculation in the world, but now you know to look for it. You're going to keep it in your memory. If you paid extra to have a data plan added to your cell phone so you could be an Uber driver partner, that data plan itself, the whole thing is good as a deduction. So we're just going to put in here, let's say Sally figured out that she was using her phone about 50% of the time, 50-50. And her bill was, about $1,000 last year. So she can put in $500. Went up a little more. Other expenses, I think we've covered just about everything now. So we've taken your income, we've put that in. We've put in all of your vehicle expenses. We've covered service fees, booking fees, all of those. We've covered any office expenses you might have. I think we've covered it all. No fixed assets, we're going to skip. Business use of home, not really. So now we're down to our business statement. At the very end of the business section, you get a read on exactly what's been going on. So here you go, gross income. Gross profit, 20,000. Your expenses are all here, listed out very lovely. We're just going to click continue. At the end, here's your business summary. So for those of you who aren't quite as organized as you would like to be, but you want to jump right in, you can jump in. Absolutely, get everything done that you have. Then you can go back and edit. You can edit any section that you like before your return is filed. So if you are waiting to file and you come across half a dozen gas receipts you didn't realize that you had, just click the edit button in the business summary and you can go back in and make those changes. I'm just going to click done with business. Now this brings up another topic, which is Canada Pension Plan. If you've been an employee before, you've seen on your T4 slip that you've contributed to the Canada Pension Plan, of course. Everyone has to be planning for their retirement, no matter of your age. As an employee, which is different, because remember, you're the business now. As an employee, you only put in so much for your Canada Pension Plan premiums. Your employer puts in the equal amount. When you're self-employed, guess what happens? You're the business, so you're putting in your share, and you're putting in what would have been your employer's share. So because you're your own employer, you're putting in 2 times CPP, which is good because you're planning for your future. Additionally, you actually get to claim your portion of it. It's done automatically. So as soon as you finish your business income, the CPP is calculated for you, and your deduction is taken for you as well. And I'll show you here in the review section exactly what I mean. So if you were, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip a lot of this. If you were starting your own return from the beginning, you would just continue all the way through. Do your provincial. If you're in Ontario, you're going to do your Trillium benefit, number of different things. But I'm going to skip right to the review section and look at some tax numbers, the very bottom line. So here's Sally's income, as we had seen. Sally's getting a refund, and I know that's really hard to believe, but I'm going to show you why. Detailed tax summary is right here, so I went right to the review section. Bottom line tax summaries, that's where I am right now. And I'm going to look at my detailed tax summary. Here we are line by line. Now this looks like a tax form. You can see that after the deductions, Sally actually cleared $11,000. And here, she had some deductions for her self-employment. Remember I said it was going to come back? It did. There we go. If we come down all the way to the very bottom, we'll see exactly what's going on. So remember I said about the self-employment, you're paying ×2. There's the ×2. And there's the ×1 as a deduction. So that's what she has payable. So that's how much CPP she's contributing based on how much she's earned. So how much you have to contribute to your CPP, of course, is based on exactly how much you earn. So when I've been saying numerous times, make sure you have all your receipts, make sure you have everything entered, this is why. It not only reduces how much income tax you have to pay, but those expenses also reduce how much CPP you have to pay. Sally actually, because she had such a lower amount of income after she entered her expenses, she's actually qualified for an additional federal credit, which is her working income tax benefit. Students are not eligible for this. I'm going to make that very clear. If you're a student and you're an Uber driver, you will not see this. But if you happen to be of a lower income, absolutely, this may apply to you. And we're done. The next step is to just continue through and file your return. Of course, Sally's fictional, so I can't really file her return for her. So that's exactly what we've done. We've gone through start to finish with the Uber partner income. We have some handouts here for you, tax prep tips. Going forward, we have a home and business guide for Uber partners. To get started, as I said, to get your special offer, you're going to go to turbotax.ca/Uber. This is just for you Uber driver partners. Now, if this is your very first tax return, you might be a little intimidated, of course. However, with TurboTax, we've got you covered. Not only are you going to get the step-by-step while you're preparing your taxes, we actually have another special offer for you. Have an expert review your return before you file. So here's another discount just for Uber driver partners. I've actually never heard of this discount before in the number of years that I've worked here. You guys are really special. you get 25% off on a pro review. Now, a pro review simply means that you're going to call in, you're going to speak to one of our tax experts, and they're going to review your return with you. They'll be able to see your screen. That's all they can see is just your screen. You're in full control of everything. They'll answer any questions you have. Make sure your return is completed first. So you've put everything that you can into this return. You think, maybe, maybe I'm missing something. I'm not 100% sure. I think I'd like to have someone else take a look. Absolutely. There's an offer right there in the review section for you. As soon as you click that you would like to have your return reviewed, the number will appear to get in touch with one of our tax experts. Again, this is where we need to go to get started. And we don't have time for a whole lot of questions, but we can have a look. Okay. So thank you all for attending. It's been a great time. We'll be taking a few questions afterward. I'm just going to leave this here for just a moment. I didn't realize we'd gone it's almost 5 o'clock. Goodness gracious, we've been here almost an hour. So thank you all very much for attending. We have a number of different information pieces for you. Head on over to turbotax.ca/Uber. We have a step-by-step guide coming. We have a whole lot of FAQs and, of course, your special offer. Thank you all for coming today. Have a great day.